Hey team, and welcome back to video number 2. The purpose of today's lesson is to use the group and hollow strategies. We're also going to learn how to use alignment. I'm going to come from this direction in order to head back into the project that I started last time. I'm going to bring my mouse on top of this item, and right here it says tinker this. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here where it says tinker this in order to go back into the project that I was working on last time. Now that I'm here, I'm actually going to scoot up to the left and I'm going to rename my project right up here. Tinkercad is always going to give your project a name, even though you haven't given it a name. I'm going to click one time right here. I recommend that you include your name in each of your projects because when your teacher receives it, it's helpful that your teacher prints the correct project. So let me put my name. I'm going to use spacebar and then I'm going to use dash. And then right now it's just a box, so I'm just going to call it box. And then I'm going to press enter on my keyboard one time. And when I press enter on my keyboard one time, my project has now been renamed. All right, friends, when you're working on a project, sometimes your teacher is going to give you specifications on how high, wide, and long your project can be, and that it should not exceed specific measurements. If your teacher has given you specific measurements, parameters, or specifications, make sure that your project is not larger than that, because if your teacher has to shrink your project down in order to print it, sometimes things might go sour in the machine. There might be a space that's not as large or as tall as it needs to be. So try, if you can, to pay attention to those specifications. Right now in this video, I'm going to talk to you about these two shapes up here. And really, it isn't so much the shapes, but specifically the color. This gray color, where you see the lines on it, indicates that you may want to take some part of your project away. I'm going to model what this looks like inside of the project today. So I have now scooted this box onto my work plane where I'm going to hollow out the interior of this box. Let's pretend that we want this box to function like a pencil box or a pencil tray, and I want things to sit inside of it. This gray box is going to be the space that we're going to remove, or it's not going to print. So let's elevate the top of this box and let's scoot it over into this middle space. In a little while, the middle of the box is going to disappear. At first glance, it looks like the gray box is spot on in the center, left, right, etc. However, if you're not quite sure if everything is perfectly aligned and you want to make sure that it's perfectly aligned, let me scoot the gray box over so that it's not perfectly aligned, and let me show you the strategies that we can use in order to line things up. I'm going to draw a rectangle around these two things. I'm going to start right here. I'm going to put my index finger down on my mouse. I'm going to scoot around. Do you see that microscopic red rectangle that I just created? What I'm doing is I'm telling the computer, hey, everything that the box is touching, let's kind of pretend that they're friends. And you'll notice how both of those items have been selected at the same time. I'll do that one more time. I'll click off so that we don't see that dark gray band around each one of them. I'm going to drag that rectangle. I'm going to create that temporary rectangle so that I tell the computer, hey, I want to work with both of these right now. I'm now going to scoot up right here where you see this item right here. And you can see that it tells me what it is. If I kind of just hang out there for a few seconds, it shows me that what I want to do is I want to align things. And then I have these series of black dots that appear. Let me explain what those black dots mean. If I want item A and item B to be aligned in the center so that they're both perfectly aligned based on this spot, I can click right here, and now they're both perfectly aligned left and right. If I want them to be perfectly aligned left and right all over again, but based on this edge, I can either choose, oh, it showed up a second ago and then it disappeared. See how when I'm right here, you can see what the center of that one would be by the gray circle on the bottom. I'm going to choose this black one. Oh, and do you see the thin yellow lines that appear? The computer's letting me know what's going to happen if I were to click on this bubble right here. That's what it would look like in just a second. So let me click, and then you'll see how both of those items scooted over so that they're perfectly aligned all the way around. So that's what the align feature lets us accomplish. If I were to focus on, let me see if I can scoot it around. If I were to focus on the ones that are over here, it's letting me know what would happen if I were to align them based on those edges, but I actually don't want to do that. The next thing I want to do is I want to elevate this box just a little bit. Let me explain why. I'm going to do some things and then I'm going to undo them. Let me select both of them, and then I'm going to choose this right here, and this means that I want to group the items. So let me group the items. Oh, look at that. Did you see that, how that whole section just disappeared? And now my box has no interior space whatsoever. Those special boxes allow us to cut away a portion of the model. So I now have an open space in the middle. This is not actually what I wanted to achieve, but I wanted to show you that. So what I really want to achieve, let me scoot the undo. Let me click on the undo button one time so that way my two shapes come back together. If you ever need those two shapes to come undone, simply click on the main shape one time, and then right up here, the next door neighbor to the group button is the ungroup button. So go ahead and click the ungroup button one time. If you ever need to make modifications, if you cut away too much or didn't cut away enough, you can always make those adjustments and then regroup as necessary. What I really want is I want a base to this model to exist at the bottom so that it can hold my pencils. Let me increase the exterior walls of my project real quick before I do that, because if it's not tall enough, then it really can't hold pencils very well. All right, so I've elevated the outer wall of the red shape. I want to singularly pick on just the gray shape. I want to use the cone in order to elevate this. So I want to come up a couple millimeters so that way the base of my project can actually hold things. I'm going to scoot around and I'm going to double check to see how high I elevated the gray box, because I'm slightly curious how deep the bottom is. Let me click just on the center one. By clicking on just the center one, can you see that line right there? It's letting me know approximately how high off the work plane that second shape is, so that when I erase that center area of the red box, I know how deep the bottom of my box is. If the bottom of the box is too thin, it could break easily. So it needs to be thick enough in order to support whatever items I want to place inside of it. All right, friends, I'm going to use that same strategy I used just a second ago. Let me select both items. Let me click on the group button one time. I'll wait just a few seconds, and then you'll notice how I now have a base layer inside of my project, so it is capable of holding items now. Hey friends, thanks so much for watching today's video, and have a great day.